Well, hey guys. So today we're going to be continuing on with Adobe Illustrator. We're going to be continuing on with creating little shapes and stuff. Today we're going to be using the pen tool, and we're going to be focusing more on a sort of minimalist approach to, say, designing a phone wallpaper. So if you click on New and you find Mobile, you can find all number of different kinds of phones here. So you've got the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus and all these different things. I want to say you can probably find more, later on. You can get the dimensions for the newer ones, but I want to say these are all pretty standard. I personally use Android, so I'm going to find my Android 1080p here. If you want to find the one that you most approximates what you have, you can, but this right here, Android 1080p is what I'm going to use. So it's 1080 by 1920. That's your HD video. So if you turn it on the side, it'll play your movies nice. But I'll just go ahead and press create, and we'll see our little thing here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create a little skyline. So you should have downloaded these photos here. Let me see if I can find these little photos that I downloaded here. So we got this little photo, this city in China, and then I think Paris is somewhere down there as well. Let's see if I can find it. Well, right here. We'll find it. So what we can do, we can do the same thing that we do with everything else. We can just, like in Photoshop, we can just take this, we can just kind of drag it in, and it'll automatically be kind of small. So I'm just going to pull off to the side and sort of hold down Shift, and I'm going to see if I can make it a little bit bigger. So the skyline takes up the entire size here. I'm going to actually make it a bit bigger so the Eiffel Tower is more towards the edge there, and we're just going to see if we can't trace out bits of the skyline here. So I'm going to get it just a little bit bigger, and what we'll do is we will lower the opacity slightly, maybe like 60% or something like that, and we'll see if we can't go to our layers and just lock this layer down and add a new layer. So let's get our pen tool. The pen tool works the same way in Photoshop as it does, or the same way in Illustrator as it does in Photoshop. You can click and it'll create straight lines. You can click and drag and it'll create curves. So we're going to be using a combination of like curves and strokes, curves and lines here. And let's go ahead and set our fill to empty for now, and we'll set our stroke to something a bit easier to see, like say red. So it shows up a bit better against this little photo here. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this, and we'll start into this. Okay, so let's get in real close. And what we want to do is, this is kind of pixelated. We just want to like pick a point to follow. So I'm going to pick this little point here. I'm just going to kind of approximate this. If you hold down Shift, it'll make a straight line. And I'm just going to kind of go through and see if I can't find the different levels to this. And I'll zoom in a little bit more here, just to kind of trace out the various rises and falls. If you hold down the space bar, you can move over a little bit, and right here. Now up here with this little dome, we'll trace out this dome here. So I'm going to just hold down and just kind of curve around this. That's about right. And when we come up here for this little top, if I click once, I can come back here, I can hold down the control button, and I can kind of grab this little handle here and just pull this in a little bit until it just about matches up with the point there. So it goes straight up, and I'll just continue on with this. Hold down Shift to get it even, level, and we'll just here, continue on. Trying to make it as even as you possibly can here. And you may be thinking this is kind of complex already, but we'll kind of break it down to its more sort of simple kind of shapes here. Let me hold down Control and drag this back up to the handle about there, and I'll Control and I'll sort of pull this down some. And let's continue on until we get to the Eiffel Tower here. Down here. And once again, we're just sort of following the different kind of rises and falls of the city skyline. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight. It could be, angled in certain ways, because sometimes the buildings they have sort of rises and falls, they can go uphill and stuff. We definitely want to have a lot of variation to the heights of this. And here we go. We're just about at the tower here. We're just about at the end of our design. So let's go to the Eiffel Tower here, and we'll just click up here. We'll just click, and we'll curve this down. Now let's get in really close. Let's zoom in quite a bit here so we can see our anchor points. So I'm going to hold down Control and drag this handle back to the anchor point that I had made about there. And I'll drag this anchor point up a little bit, about there. And then my next anchor point is going to go right about there. So I'll zoom back out. I'll continue this curve all the way up to the top here. Let's go a bit further down here. That looks about right. Okay. And I'll zoom back in. Get my space bar. And once again, we want to make sure that we're holding on Control on this right here. And we'll find that handle's way up here, so zoom out slightly. And we'll just grab that and drag that back down to the anchor point. It'll snap right to it. And we can click and drag this anchor point up here. That's good, okay. So we'll continue on with this. A little spike here. Let me get in close here and get this handle pulled back up. And we'll kind of approximate this. It'll be super exact. I think this is a pretty iconic shape, so if you get it close, it should be recognizable. But some details are nice. Okay, I'm zooming in, holding with the Alt key, rolling up the mouse wheel, holding on Control. Let's grab this right here, and let's hold down Control, click on this anchor here, and get that straight. And then we'll just drag this down right about there. Okay, and continue on drawing. Whoops. That looks about good. And then we'll click it over here, and once again we'll hold down Control. We'll see if we can't drag this handle back up to where it belongs, right there, to make that straight. We'll just straighten this up a little bit. All right, and we'll go to the end of our. All right. Okay, so let's zoom out here, and we can just then go all the way down, across, and back onto it. So we have this little path here, and then what we'll do is we'll take our stroke away, and we'll pull it in a fill, and let's find a color. Let's find sort of a muted color. So I'm going to find just sort of any color here, like say, I'll find like a purple color, purplish color. And I'm going to pull the saturation down. So let me go to my little menu here, my little options menu, and find HSB, which is hue, saturation, and brightness. I'm going to pull my saturation down a good deal. And I'll pull my brightness down a good deal. I'll pull the saturation down even further here. I'll pull my brightness down even further. So let me see this muted grayish color here. We're going to find this sort of feeling of dusk almost. I'll kind of click around the different hues to see there's something. So you know, something with a very low saturation, so a little bit darker, and you can just find whatever color that you like the best. So I'm going to find this reddish purple color here. Looks good. All right, and so let's do one last thing. Let's pull the opacity down slightly. What we're going to do is we're going to click off of our shape, and we'll zoom in here, and let's cut out a little bit of the Eiffel Tower here. So let's get a just make a shape here. No, okay. And what we'll do is we'll change our color in a second, but let's cut out this little bit of the Eiffel Tower just so we can have a little bit of a silhouette there. And what we'll do is we'll change the fill to something, garish, something like this red, and then we'll click on our, skyline back here, and we'll pull the opacity Oops, get our move tool here. We'll get our opacity back up to 100. And what we'll do is we'll select both. We'll hold down Shift and select both of these, and then get our Shape Builder tool and just sort of Alt cut that out so that shows through. All right, so let's go ahead and put that on its own layer. Let's lock that down, and we'll make that invisible for now. We'll pick the new layer here, and what we'll do is we'll pull this layer below this Paris skyline, and let's take in a new the other photograph here. Let's find the other photograph that we found, the main king city here. Folder, and I'll just go over here to my Adobe Illustrator, and I'll drag that in at some point. And all I want to do with this is just get like the top little bits of the buildings and kind of put that slightly above the skyline for the Paris skyline here. So I'm going to pull this over here, just to hold down Shift and extend it out, and let's see if we can get that back there a little bit, just to kind of get some extra buildings here, kind of in the back, and I'll put that down. All right, that looks good. All right, and what we'll do is we'll once again lock this layer, and we'll make a new layer, and that'll be below our Paris skyline. So let's get our pen tool selected and do the same thing we did before. Get our fill empty and our stroke set to something bright like red. And first off, let's go back to our layers. Let's unlock this for just a second and bring the opacity down. And we'll go over back to our layers, lock it back, and get on a new layer. And let's just go through once again. And this is mostly straight lines, so we're going to be kind of mostly just doing straight strokes with the pen tool. So I'm just going to click through it, and you could just kind of follow along here. Oops, I got the wrong tool here. Make sure we have the pen, not the curvature pen. I'm holding down Shift the entire time I'm doing this, just to keep everything, perpendicular and kind of even. And I'm not being super exact about everything here, but I am trying to get a good approximation of the skyline, just to give it some variety. Details aren't necessarily the name of the game when it comes to minimalist stuff. I'm probably going to skip this round building here. I might just do a silhouette of it, just like so, kind of like the Washington Monument. I'll go down a little bit. And just kind of approximate this building. I'll put a little gap there. And we're just about done with this. All right, so what we'll do now is we'll just make this to the outside like we did before. Okay. All right, and so with that done, we'll go back to, let's make sure we close it out. Okay, so with that done, let's take our stroke away. And we'll make our fill kind of the same color as before here. So let's see if I can get my eyedropper tool. And what we'll do is we'll go to our swatches, our color right here, and we'll take our brightness, and we'll pull our brightness way, way up. And we'll pull our saturation way down. I'm just kind of trying to make this fade out a little bit here. So it's kind of faded off in the distance here. All right, and so the last thing, well, not the last thing here, we'll do a couple more things. We'll add sort of a skyline here. Let's go over to our layers. Let's make our Chinese city invisible there, and make our Paris city invisible as well. And we can even sort of take this and move this up a little bit here, slightly. looks good. And I'm gonna grab my rectangle tool. I'm just gonna make a little rectangle that goes across the top. We can have this on the same layer if we want, but I'm gonna have this across the top here. And I'm gonna make this once again the same color. I'll right-click this with my Move tool, and I'll arrange it and send it to the back. And then when I go to my properties and I get my fill color and I click the brightness and pull it up some, you can kind of see what we're going for. I'm going to change my hue just slightly. When I get about this bright, I'm going to change my hue more like a reddish color. So you can choose whatever color you want for these, but the idea is you want the background to kind of be its own thing, and then you want the two city layers to be somewhat, they're the same city, but one's in the foreground, one's in the background here. So we got our little Eiffel Tower, we got our little Capitol building and stuff. I'm gonna move around here and see what we got. So I'm just holding on the up arrow until I can see something that I like. I like this right here. I think I like this right. Okay, that's good. All right. So I'll just keep it here, and I might pull up my saturation slightly. My brightness down a little bit. Okay. All right. So the last thing I'll do. I'll put my brightness up a little bit more. Yeah, saturation down. Okay. So the last thing we'll do is we'll add a sun, and so I'm gonna grab my ellipse tool here, and I'm just gonna hold down Control and draw a little circle. Hold down Shift here, rather, and I'll change this to sort of an orange color, and I'll pull the saturation down a good deal. Get the brightness down too. Okay, that's good, and I'll pull this right about here to there, and I'll just right-click on it, and I'll say Send Arrange, and I'll say Send Backward. So it'll be sort of sitting there, and you can just kind of place that wherever you want. Looks good right about there. Make it a bit bigger. Hold down Shift and grow it out a little bit. Okay. All right, and so let's do this. What we'll do is we file and we export as a PNG. What's fun is that it actually cuts it off to the range of the artboard. So I'm going to call this Minimalist Phone. I'll put my last name here. And you can see it's sort of, well, let's see, that's actually not quite right. Let's, background color, let's see if we can constrain this to be inside the artboard here. So I'm going to draw a little rectangle on the sides here and see if I can't sort of cut these sort of layers out. So let me see if I can't do this. I'll just go over to my rectangle tool, and I'll cut all this down to size. So rectangle tool, and I'll just sort of hold this off to the side here. Right about there. It matches up pretty well. And what we'll do is we'll hold down Shift, and we'll click here, and we'll just get our Shape Builder tool, and we'll just cut this little bit out from the middle there. All right, so that's cut off there. Do the same thing on the other side. Yeah, hold down Shift. Actually, I don't think I quite got that right. I want to get right to the artboard. There we go. And then we'll just get our Shape Builder tool and Alt, cut all these bits out here. And we'll do the same thing to our city as well. Right here. All this stuff here. So let me just, once again, hold down Shift. And I'll hold down Shift for this one as well. And get my Shape Builder tool, and I'll just cut all this stuff out, clipping everything out that's off the artboard. All right, good. And I'll click on my layer 2 here. I'll do the same thing for layer 2. Okay. Oh, I like that down. Let me see. Unlock it there. Okay. Okay, so we can't, we'll just build a couple shapes here, and then here as well. And then we'll hold down Shift and select all three of these. And then we'll get this pulled in like so. Clipped in. Oh, we have a little bit left over from the earlier city. Right. And last one. Round layer, different layer there. And we'll just, once again, clip this down here. Okay, bump layer. Try it again. I'll just gotta select this one at the top and this one down here, and just get rid of this. So layer 4 here, and then Shift M, and then Alt, and we'll just drag it through. All right, good. Okay, so we've had that clipped down to the constraints of our wallpaper here, and so I'll press File, and we'll press Save. Just save it as an AI, wallpaper, Minimalist. Okay, and then export as a PNG. So File, Export as, and call it Wallpaper Minimalist, and then last name, and submit it to D12. All right, very cool. Okay, so when you have that on your phone, it'll just show up just the constraints of your phone, whatever artboard you had designed here, and that's a fun little way of using the pen. All right, great. Well, cannot wait to see you guys produce.